Welcome to Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com. By the way, if you are listening to the show and you like the show, even if you don't like the show, tell a friend, share on Facebook. If you're in the media, write about us. Or if you're a radio announcer or DJ, talk about the show. We're looking to reach at least 1 million people by July 4th, and we can
And
celebrate.
we're getting there. We're getting there, inch by inch. We're getting there.
People by people.
That's right.
Anyway, I'm Malcolm Berman, co-host with Deborah Manning, who's my bi-coastal friend now in South Carolina, and I'm in Los Angeles.
I'm a native Californian. Used to be an ex-news reporter out of LA, San Diego. Used to work for National Public Radio, PBS, along with Cap Cities, and moved to South Carolina, as I say, about 6 years ago now. And it's Christmas Eve. What a lovely, lovely time of year. How can anybody be unhappy? It's regardless of what's happened. It's a lovely, lovely time of year. It truly is. It truly is.
And even though, again, I don't believe in the religious aspect of it. I'm not, obviously, was raised Jewish, and to me, Jesus was not the savior. We're still waiting for the Messiah to come in my religion, but it's a goodwill on earth, peace on earth, and goodwill to all men, and I love that. And to me, Christmas is an American holiday.
That's right. And I'm married to a Jew. I'm a Christian. He's a Jew. But once again, it's a time of great optimism, and it's a time of goodwill, and of just being positive and looking forward to the new year. It's a fresh start for all of us, which will be quite refreshing. Would be quite refreshing.
As I think I said on a previous show, if people would just listen to the philosophy of Jesus, not necessarily the religious aspect, but the philosophy, he was a very wise man.
Very.
And what gets me confused is some things, with the religious right now, and how they are protecting their money, and they don't want the rich being taxed, as much. And they don't want to give to the poor. And this is not what Christmas was all about. This is not what Jesus was all about.
It's very interesting because we're here in the Bible Belt, obviously, and it's been an interesting experience. Once again, I feel the same way as you do in a sense. I certainly respect organized religion, and my late husband Tom was a preacher's kid. So I had an opportunity to experience organized religion, and it's certainly has its good points and what have you. But once again, I think the whole idea of realizing it's not about you. There is a higher power, a higher source, and you have to look outside of yourself, stop the narcissism, and go forward with goodwill towards all people. All people. That's what it's all about. So
yeah, that's what's missing in this country right now. But I don't want to talk about what's happening. I want to talk about well, actually, what I want to talk about, I just got my new phone from AT&T, and what it was, as I mentioned earlier, they have a deal where if you turn in your old phone, and I had like a Samsung S8.
Yeah.
And you could turn that in, and you would get I think it's like $800 going towards the Samsung 21G.
Okay.
So, which is $800. So it's an even swap.
There you go.
But what they do is they don't give you the money right away. They charge each month. They charge you $20.
That's clever. That's very clever.
I know. Well, for each month they charge you $20, but they give you the $20 back.
I see.
But I think what it is basically what they're doing is signing you up for 4 years of service.
There you go.
Because that's where they really make the money, is in the servicing.
Well, you know that I would love to talk about capitalism, and especially now AT&T, they've upped their dividend to over 5%. So I'm kind of eyeballing AT&T at this point. But I'd like to ask some questions of you. Let's go back to Christmas. What was the best Christmas that you ever had, Malcolm? Back back those days. What was the best Christmas?
We never, as a youth, we
Okay.
never really celebrated Christmas. I didn't
Okay.
start celebrating Christmas or being aware of the Christmas joy till I was a teenager, and
There you go.
I'd go out, because then I
Okay.
could go out to different venues, and
There you
I like going to, I mean, went to St. Patrick's Cathedral one year. I
Oh,
think I waited
nice.
in a line for 2 hours to get in, but the pageantry of it all.
Oh,
And
my.
and then I remember in my early 20s, we used to take dates to churches because they did shows. I mean, in order
Mhm.
to get people, what they did is they did ballet, they did choir, they did, it wasn't religious, it wasn't a mass.
Mhm.
It was a celebration.
Well, for
And
me, I was a child of the 50s, and my parents came through the war, and my mom and dad married just after the war concluded. My father had gotten terribly, terribly injured the last few days of World War II in Europe, and they decided to get married. They came out here to California. They waited a little while until they had me. I was the firstborn, and then we had my brother. The memories that I have of Christmas, we weren't particularly moneyed, but we were wealthy. We were very, very wealthy, and just the fun that we had. I remember that we would go out, get the Christmas tree. Of course, we were in the city, so you couldn't cut down the Christmas tree and what have you. But I remember decorating the Christmas tree and tinsel. Remember tinsel? Did you ever have tinsel on your tree?
we,
That was that.
I still do.
Yeah, well, that's that aluminum stuff that looks like icicles. It was
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. And I remember decorating up the tree. And I do recall uh, putting out milk and cookies for Santa. Now,
No wonder why he got fat.
well, it's funny because my parents really wanted me and my brother to believe in Santa Claus. And we went for a long time believing in Santa Claus. Why? Well, because when we went to bed, my father knew that I was going to be the one who was going to try and sneak out. Okay. So every single year he would manage to put a trap together so that young Deborah, when I snuck out at like 3 o'clock in the morning to try and get a look-see at the tree, it would either be bells or it would be marbles on the floor. It would be a whole variety of things. So I got to the point where, I mean, I really had to be very careful as to how I could sneak out. But it was very funny because when I would sneak out, for example, with the bells, and he wired it beautifully, beautifully. No way could I get out of that room without the bells ringing. And you would hear my father say, Deborah, get back into bedroom. It's not Christmas yet.
Wouldn't you slip on the marbles?
Well, yes, but that was the funny thing about it is he only put a couple. And when I would get onto the marbles, of course, I would scream out, ouch, oh, jeez. And of course, then my father would say, Deborah, get back to bed. It's not Christmas yet.
Yeah, but since you were small, if you tripped and fell down, there was a shorter fall.
Well, unfortunately, I've always been very tall. I'm, 6'1" at the time and a little shorter now. But yes, I was shorter then. It was a smaller fall at that point, but I never got hurt. But the best Christmas that I think that I had, um, and my parents would they would wrap all kinds of things. I mean, once again, we weren't particularly money, but they would find somehow or another to get great little toys and what have you. And of course, my mom was the one who would say, okay, Deb, now you pick out that toy, that over there, that present is for you. That present, we would go in a circle. It was four of us, obviously. So mom would get a present, dad would get a present, I would get a present, my brother would get a present. We would all wait and open up the presents, each in line. So that would, of course, extend Christmas and what have you.
Did you do
Or
it Christmas Eve or
no,
Christmas
no, no. We did it
morning?
on Christmas. We did it definitely on Christmas morning. Definitely on Christmas morning. And I do remember one Christmas where there was a little package that was kind of stuffed into the back of the tree. And we were at the end of our holiday of opening up packages, and Mom said, "What's that package back over there? That oh, wait a minute, that's for Deb." And I'm like,
Ooh.
oh, okay. So I picked up whatever the package was kind of lumpy and what have you, a little heavy. I opened it up very carefully because I was that type that didn't want to rip open the
Oh.
because you always wanted to save the wrapping paper for next year. I mean, we could at least get 3 to 4 years worth of wrapping paper. You know how that went. At any rate, I opened up the package, and what was it? It
Uh-oh.
was a water bowl. And I looked at this and I said, what is this? What is this? Mom said, well, that's a water bowl. I said, what do I need a water bowl for? Wait a minute. Oh my gosh. And all of a sudden, my dad pushed a puppy into the
Oh.
living room. It was a black Labrador they had gotten from the ASPCA. And
Wow.
this puppy came charging towards me.
And you didn't know about it before?
I had no idea. Now, how in the world they were able to keep this puppy quiet overnight, I have no clue. That's the marvel of parents. The marvels of mom and dad, how they were able to keep this puppy quiet. But
And how old were you at the time?
if I was 8 years old, I would be surprised.
Wow.
I was 8 years old, and I mean, as I say, I mean, I started crying. The puppy came directly to me. We were just inseparable, absolutely inseparable. And then, of course, my mother said, "So, what do you want to name the dog?" And of course, I immediately said, during that time, I said, "Betsy. I want to name it Betsy." Now, remember that during that time in the 50s, there was Betsy Wetsy, that stupid little doll that would wet.
I don't even remember that.
Well, and I think that was the whole reason that I named the dog Betsy.
Betsy
But
Wetsy.
a wonderful, wonderful dog, and it was a great present. And I still to this day have no clue how they kept that puppy dog quiet because I did have razor.
And how old were you? How old was the dog when you passed?
If that dog was 8 weeks, I would have been surprised. Absolutely tiny little dog.
And how old was he when he
About 10, 12 years old, lasted a long time.
So he lived a good life.
Lived a very, very good life. We
And
had
you-
a good life.
And you enjoyed him.
I love, oh, I'm an animal person. You're an animal person too, because you talked to me about your cats. And
I had cats. Yeah, I've never owned a dog.
Really?
A dog is like adopting a child.
Well, it is. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility.
Well,
With cats,
I have friends with dogs. You know, they wake them up in the morning to walk. Dog doesn't care whether it's raining, snowing, whether it's 10
That's
degrees
true.
below zero,
That's
whether it's
true.
95 degrees in the sun. They want to be walked twice a day. If you
That's
go
true.
away for a weekend, you have to find a place for a dog. Either friend stays at your house, or you put them up in a pound, or doggy house.
But you know what? They are loving. They are marvelous creatures, as are cats. We have one that's here. This is Max that's here. He's being very, very good. I don't know whether you can see him or not. Yeah, there
I
he
can
is.
see him. Yeah.
So we put suet out for the birds. Of course, it's getting cold here now. Although on Christmas Day, we're going to have a heat spell, which is exactly what happened to us in 2015 when we arrived. It was 71 degrees on Christmas Day. Looks like we're going to get another 70 degree or so tomorrow and possibly on Sunday. So we put the suet out, and that's to keep the birds well fed. And of course, that gives them the fat that they need to be able to make it through the winter time. But all of the leaves are now gone, and it's just beautiful. Oh, had a wonderful thing happen. Sorry, I'm the one who's talking all today, for heaven's sakes.
Good.
But
I can rest.
we got a telephone call yesterday, and it was from my husband, Fish, his middle daughter. And we were a little bit concerned only because it came in at a very odd time, which would have been in the morning. It's a very odd time for her to be calling us. And so we were concerned, was there an emergency? Was there something need to be taken care of? Did they need money? You know how that goes. So no, she said, I was talking to a friend, and the friend asked me when was the last time, what I was going to be doing for Christmas. And my friend said, well, I'm going to be going to see my folks and blah, 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 and all of that. And he happened to look up and he looked at me and said, when was the last time you saw your dad? And Carter said, well, it's been 5 years. It's been 5.5 years since we've seen our middle daughter. And this gentleman looked at her and said, that's ridiculous. Time is a wasting. So what did he do? He bought her a ticket. So we are picking up our middle daughter. I'll start to cry.
Wow.
We're picking up our middle daughter at 7 o'clock at Greenville Spartanburg International Airport. We are unbelievably. Now I am only the stepmother here, but I got to tell you, I am so happy. I cannot tell you how happy I am to be able to see her. And it's been very odd because politics have really interfered. He has 5 children, and unfortunately 2.5, I should say almost 3, are not speaking to either one of us because of politics. The other 2 are, and as I say, for Carter to get up and just leave and come and visit us on Christmas Eve, and she's going to be here all the way until Monday. It's magical. It'll be the best Christmas ever. Absolutely the best Christmas ever.
I tell you, I always think, I had children at a later age.
Yeah.
And now my kids are 26 and 25, but they live around here. One still lives in the house because he works out of his office is his bedroom with his computer.
There you go.
And the other lives about 2-3 miles away. But I'm always concerned of whether, what they are, if I don't hear from them for a day or two, especially the one that lives away. I'm always worried. My wife thinks I'm crazy.
No.
But then I have someone else that they do a show with, and she says her son is 34.
Okay.
And if she doesn't hear from him for a day, she worries. Or what he's doing with traveling or this whole thing with the COVID. So I feel with kids, they're your children, till you die.
Yes.
You're always concerned of where they are, always concerned about what they do. Funny story, there's I don't know if I ever mentioned it. There was something on Facebook the other day, and it's 2 guys talking together in a house.
Okay.
And the guy tells his friend, oh, my mother called me up twice yesterday and didn't return the call. And the next thing, there was a helicopter going overhead saying, she probably called the police to check up on me to see if I was okay. Which reminds me of the story when my son, Jonathan, was wasn't for second year, he was over at UC Santa Barbara. And we had called him on a Friday or a Friday morning, and he didn't answer the call. We left a message. We called him Friday afternoon. He didn't return the call. We called him Friday night. He didn't return the call. We called him Saturday morning. He didn't return the call. So what I did is called up it wasn't Santa Barbara police. It's Isla Vista.
Isla Vista, the sheriff's department there.
Right. So we called him.
Excuse me.
And actually, we called up the school first and said,
Okay.
I haven't heard from my son for a while. Could you check up and again? And they said, well, we don't do this, but call up the police department in Isla Vista.
All right.
And Isla Vista, we called up the police department. And I said, I hate to bother you. But could you, do you do? He said, of course we do. It was like a standard type of thing. He was saying, yeah, we do this all the time. So anyway, half hour later, we get a call from my son. Why the hell did you send the police over here? I worried. I said, what are you worried about? He said, I saw the police coming in. I thought something happened to you guys.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Oh, for heaven's sakes. So did you get things straightened out in terms of communication?
Right. I said, well, if you would call up when we called, he said, no, my phone was out, and there was a good reason that he hadn't called. Either the phone was out or was getting it fixed, but he hadn't gotten the messages.
Oh, Lordy.
But it was the thing to this day, and now he's, he's going to be 27 years old. He says, and you called up the cops to check up on me, and I'm worried so much that something happened to you. But a kid is always a kid, so I know how you're feeling.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And since I was not able to have children, I mean, my adopted kids at this point right now are incredibly important to me. And it was funny because when I talked with her about things, I said, so I need to plan the menu. And she said, oh, that's a typical mother thing. And I said, yes, I'm responsible for the menu here. So I said, so what are the things that you don't eat? And so I listed all the normal. You don't eat turkey. You don't eat meat of any kind. And so we went through the whole gamut of things. And it was funny because she apologized for it. And I said, please do not apologize.
That's
I mean,
you.
you are going to be our guest. We will figure out something. So finally, what did we hit? We hit on perfect quiche. Of course, we have chickens, so we could use a dozen eggs in our quiches.
Yeah.
So we'll have quiche for our Christmas dinner, which will be absolutely lovely, and it will be wonderful just to be able to sit and just talk about normal everyday things. I mean, this COVID situation really robbed us of all of that. And I know we all need to be careful. And like you and I've had both of my shots and the booster, of course. I don't want to fool around with this thing. And I did have it early on in February of 2020. But I didn't want to take a chance. I don't want to take a chance. I don't need to have something like that. I mean, I lived through, like you did, the polio scare of the 50s and early 60s. So, I don't need to be going through that again. But it'll be wonderful and so normal to be able to just talk about everyday things.
Really?
Like, what do you do in the morning? Tell me about your dog.
But by the way, is this the daughter that knows about the computers?
No, it is not, unfortunately.
Well, have the other one come over because I need help. But anyway, going back to my Christmases.
Yeah, I want to hear.
It wasn't anything special when I lived at home when I was younger. Why?
Okay.
Because basically the holiday that we really celebrated was Hanukkah. And we lit the menorah, which is a candelabra, with the 8 candles, and the shamus, which is the one in the center, which you light all the other candles with.
Of course.
And they gave, for the 8 days, you get a little trinkets. It wasn't big presents, but small presents.
Sure.
Never had a Christmas tree, but Santa Claus would visit me on Christmas Eve. And of course, Christmas, well, it wasn't Christmas Eve, it was like in the middle of the night.
Sure.
And I remember would wake up like at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and say, Mama, Daddy, did Santa come in? They said, no, go back to sleep. I probably did this like about 2, 3 times that night, until they see it, probably like about 6, 7. Oh, he's here already. And I'd run out and unwrap my toy. It wasn't, a big toy, but there was something, some sort of game. I remember my favorite thing was painting by the numbers.
I love painting by the numbers. Me too.
That was one of my favorite, or anything that involved magic.
There you go. That's interesting.
But anyway,
you're a Steve Martin fan too, right? Because he loved magic too.
Well, that was Johnny Carson was. He started out as a magician.
You bet.
But never had a Christmas tree until I got married. As I say, my wife was raised a Christian, and she was Catholic, but I think basically now she more enjoys the Jewish religion, or in fact, she's a better Jewish cook than my mother was. all the Jewish food for the Jewish holiday, she has the brisket and the potato latkes, the potato pancakes, and everything.
Well, I hope she's doing tamales. I hope she kept that from her heritage.
No, she has. Actually, we had tamales a few weeks ago. Her mother did. The Salvadorian tamales, which is different than the Mexican tamales.
Well, please send me the recipe, for heaven's sakes. I will.
But it's such labor intensive to make tamales.
Yeah, well, it's okay. They're great.
But what she does is a traditional, I don't know if it's only Salvadorian dish, and I always forget the name of it, for Christmas. You have a baguette. You slice it open. It's sort of like an open sandwich. You put turkey in it with a lot of the gravy they make. Then you put a lot of veggies in there. There's lettuce, there's radish, things that I'm forgetting that you would yell at me for. But we have that. That's sort of like the main sandwich, and then everything else. And of course, Salvadorian, it's pupusas,
Pupusas.
right? Which is sort of like a flat stuffed pancake. It's a flat pancake, but it's like
Okay.
stuffed either with meat or cheese. And you eat it with your hands. They have sort of like a coleslaw and a sauce over it, and you eat it with you pull apart it with your hands.
You are so lucky. I have to tell you, that kind of food coming from California, that is one of the things that we do miss is real true, not the Tex-Mex, that's fine,
Mm.
but the real true Hispanic food.
Yeah,
we miss.
I'm not sure the difference between Latino, Hispanic.
I don't know.
I think I think Latino basically, from Latin America versus, the Hispanic might be originally from Spain. In that
Well,
part of the
that's
world.
the wonderful thing. You've done a lot of traveling, as I have done a lot of traveling, and it's just fascinating the food types. I subscribe to Christopher Kimball's Milk Street, and he used to be on PBS with America's Test Kitchen, which is a fabulous way to be able to learn how to do great cooking, of great American cooking. But he really centralizes on international cooking. And it's just, it's fascinating, the combination of, sorry, Amazon just delivered a present. Very good.
Someone is at the ring front doorbell.
Oh, well, thank you. Don't you love these smart houses now? They're telling us somebody's at the doorbell and telling us all these things. But getting back to,
I like the Amazon that sort of knocks on your door and runs away.
yeah.
But then
Nice.
you get a text, that your package has been delivered.
There you go. But if you get a chance to go to Milk Street, it's fascinating because the types of foods that and the simplicity of the foods, like what you're talking about, taking a baguette, putting turkey on it, and then lots and lots of vegetables.
And the sauce, yeah.
And the sauce. Oh my Lord. Such simplicity and yet complex flavors. Just I don't know. I love Christmas.
I love eating.
Yeah, me too.
But some of my favorite movies, I'm forgetting the title is of them. I remember one again is, do you ever see, I think it might be Mexican, I don't know, Water for Chocolate?
Yes.
And it's about this woman who opens a bakery shop, and she makes chocolate desserts, but the chocolate also has like a magic something in there that makes people fall in love.
Mm-hmm. Charming, it's just charming film.
And there are lots of films like that about chefs. Oh, I forget the one. There's one with not I think it's Adam Sandler. Is it Adam Sandler? Where he owns a restaurant.
That sounds about right. You
Yeah.
remember the name of the movie?
I don't remember. Names are going. I wasn't prepared for this conversation, but
I know. Well, unfortunately, I didn't prep you for what we were going to be talking about. Normally, we'll prep each other as to what
Right.
we're going to be talking about.
Or the one with Julia Childs with
Yes.
Meryl Streep.
Yep.
And she had that high-pitched voice.
I love it. And you know what? You can see the old Julia Child PBS stuff. And she had a fabulous, in fact, we're probably going to use it for our Christmas, a fabulous quiche recipe. And just watching her put this together. I mean, she had such a passion for cooking and everyday cooking for an everyday cook. And of course, during the period of time that she was teaching, that was unheard of, completely unheard of. And so once again, I'm looking at this recipe now, and it's just very, very simple ingredients, very much in terms of international cooking, simple but flavorful ingredients. It's just.
Well, so far, I don't know if I've ever had a cuisine I didn't like, a nationality. Of course, I haven't done all of them. But I remember going out to Ethiopian food, which you basically eat with your hands. And there's a big Ethiopian area over here in La Cienega, which was actually the old Jewish section.
Oh, nice.
Of so you can have Ethiopian food and then go get a corned beef sandwich by Cantor's. They're right a block away from each other.
Cantors. Oh my God, I love Cantors.
and-
Like I
and-
said, I was an LA news reporter, so.
Yeah. And
Yep.
then Indian food. I used to have a friend there in a place called Gitanjali on La Cienega, and
Is it still around?
no,
No.
but
Didn't make it
yeah,
through the COVID?
and it was, but no, I mean, he's gone 10 years. He left the business. And
Okay.
then for a while, I was I was eating a lot of Korean food, which actually my son now likes
Interesting.
the
Interesting.
Korean food. And I like things spicy. I like it hot. So I noticed, because I would go with, I was trying to sell a Korean radio station.
Okay.
So I'd go with a lot of Korean business people to the restaurants. And I noticed that they would order something and I'd order the same thing. And theirs were very hot. You know, I could tell by their eating, and mine wasn't so hot. So I used to tell them, okay, tell them to make the entree the same way you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I noticed, because
They were deferential to you and your American
right,
palate.
right. Or they
Kind.
call round eye.
Yeah, that's right. How kind though.
And the same thing, I used to go to Chinese restaurants, and like Szechuan.
Hmm.
Of course, where I grew up with all chow mein, which is not actually Chinese. It's sort of like Chinese American.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because when my late husband Tom and I were over in Hong Kong, he was really into hot food. And it was interesting because when we were doing some business negotiations and what have you, not only if you you needed to hold your liquor as well as be able to consume unbelievable amounts of spicy mustard. And he was able to do both. I was able to do the booze, but I don't know about the mustard. That's a firecracker, I gotta tell you.
Well, I like Dijon mustard.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
hot mustard.
Absolutely.
Anyway, guy, would you believe it, or half hours? It's amazing how short half hours go with us.
Well, as always, I enjoy speaking with you, Malcolm. It's always great. We've been friends for such a long period of time. And it's have a very, very Merry Christmas, a wonderful, wonderful Hanukkah, and
Well,
All
Hanukkah's been
blessings.
over. You know, it's been over.
well,
This is
all blessings to
yeah.
your family.
Hanukkah was the first night of Hanukkah was the second 2 days after Thanksgiving, which was too soon for me.
Yeah, it is.
I
It is.
remember one year that we lit the candles for Hanukkah and the Christmas Eve,
Oh my.
but that was a little late. You generally because as people say, how come the date changes? The date doesn't change. They go towards the Jewish calendar, which is different than the Gregorian calendar.
There you go. There you go.
That's why each year the Jewish holidays are different. It's the same day each year, but according to the Jewish calendar.
How very cool.
Yeah.
How
But
very
anyway,
cool.
I think we're 5782, 5783.
Is that right?
Well, you know
Okay.
the old joke that
What's that?
I think China is like Chinese calendar is, I think, by 3000 or 2000, and
Yep.
the Jewish calendar is 57 and change, 5783. So that time between 5783 and the Chinese calendar, in Jewish it's called the Dark Ages. Because I don't know how it started, but traditionally on Christmas Eve, what a Jewish family does is go out to Chinese food and watch a movie.
That's true. It's just like the Christmas Story. That's a great movie, The Christmas Story. That was one of my late husband's favorite movies, because he could really identify with the whole thing with you're going to shoot your eye out, because he always wanted to have a BB gun, and he
BB gun.
actually did get one finally. So
But he didn't shoot his eye out.
no, he didn't, but he had a great time with it.
But well, the movie that I just recorded, Scrooge,
Which
Christmas,
one? Now,
A
which one
Christmas
did you
Carol,
get?
Alastair Sims. I like him. I don't. The other ones are okay, but Alastair Sims I like. Another good one is called Scrooge with Bill Murray.
Oh, interesting. I have not seen that one yet.
Oh,
Is that a good one?
Yeah, that takes place in modern times,
Oh.
and he is like a producer. I think it's like might be NBC, and he's producing a live Christmas Carol on Christmas Eve.
All right, we'll have to watch it. We'll have to
Yeah.
watch it.
And anyway, so you know, it's a lot about the television business and things. So, but it's funny.
Well, both you and I have been heavily involved in the TV business,
TV and radio
news, and documentaries and radio and all of that, I'll tell you.
And now we're just doing this new media. By the way, just want to, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you're listening to the show and you do have a voice someplace with in the media, please recommend us, write about us, talk about us, because we're looking to reach the first million by mid-year. I know I'm optimistic, but if you're not optimistic, you never get any place.
That's right. And you know what? We're just two individuals. I have a tendency of leaning more towards the conservative side of things. However, I have been independent for a long period of time, been a news reporter for years and years and years. And Malcolm, you're a liberal, you're an ultra liberal, but you know what? We do come up with common ground, which is something that so dearly we need.
I'm more or less a social liberal, ultra liberal, and a fiscal conservative. Because I want to know how money is spent. I don't mind spending the money as long as it's not wasted.
I have to agree, and we've got to find some common ground, especially now. So here's to a good 2022. And I'll see you on, are we going to do a program on New Year's Eve?
We're going to do a program on New Year's Eve and get your resolutions set down and what you want to do if you make resolutions. And,
I do.
And what you're looking forward to in the new year.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to doing the show.
Me too. My blessings to you and your family. Thank you so much. And everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Merry
wonderful
Christmas.
holiday.
And we'll see you before New Year's. Bye, everybody.
Sounds good. Bye-bye, everybody.